E aí galera, vamos apresentar mais uma edição especial do programa Curitiba Underground, hoje trazendo aqui a banda punk escocesa, Spat. Vamos conversar com o pessoal aqui e conhecer um pouco mais da história deles. Então galera, eu queria saber de vocês um pouco mais da história da banda, conta pro pessoal aí que ainda não conhece, um pouco dessa história de vocês.
Me and Damien started the band back in 2008. We played small gigs around Edinburgh and then went from there into Glasgow and the rest of Scotland, and then played gigs in England and eventually sort of spread out and went to Poland and Germany and Finland, and just tried to play as many places as possible and random places, and finally we make it to Brazil, so now we're here.
Fala um pouco pra gente das suas principais influências.
I'm influenced by UK82, like GBH, a bit of Exploited, the politics of Oi Polloi, so Anarchy, a bit of Oi, some American bands from the 70s, Dead Boys, Stooges, and some hardcore as well.
Quais as principais diferenças que vocês percebem entre a cena underground europeia e a cena underground aqui do Brasil, que vocês tiveram contato?
Okay, the main difference between Europe and Brazil is there's a few different ones. Firstly, we've heard of a lot of divisions between scenes within the punk scene. So Oi, hardcore, anti-fascist, fascist, skinhead. It's like, seems like the scene is really divided. Not so much in Curitiba, but we hear about other places where punks are fighting each other. This doesn't happen in Europe at all. Basically there's skinheads, boneheads, hardcore and punks, and it's divided, but they don't fight each other, just fascist versus anti-fascist. And this is a really strange thing for us to hear and to understand, why punks just fight each other because they're in a different gang. We don't understand that. The second thing that we've noticed in Curitiba, it's different. It's quite, everyone's sort of more together. Like the other night we played with hardcore bands like Traditional Disorder, and then more like UK82, fast punk, like SOS Chaos, and it seemed to be more mixed. Everyone was happy. It's more like Europe, more like UK, more like Germany. The third thing we've noticed is that it's very organized. It takes, the organizers plan more in ahead, because I organize gigs in Edinburgh and we can organize a gig next week, but here it's a bit more complicated. There's like the owner of the venue, the promoter and the bands, and it's about making a contract. It's more sort of business oriented to make sure that there's a deal, whereas in UK maybe it's easier, I don't know, but it's a lot quicker to organize gigs.
Os shows no Brasil foram satisfatórios para vocês, essa turnê aqui na América do Sul, né?
Yeah, the show's been absolutely amazing. In Edinburgh, sometimes you can play a show and it'll just be local bands and maybe be a couple of people jumping around and maybe a few people watching. It depends, it can be busy, it can be slow, but maybe it's because Curitiba is a bigger city, then everyone gets involved, and it's really nice to see it. I mean, I don't think anybody would have heard of us before, but they come along anyway and they have a great time, and it's been like a really welcoming atmosphere as well. We even played in Salvento, it's a smaller place, but everyone gets involved and everybody wants to speak to us as well. So it's very welcoming and lots of fun as well.
E a expectativa de vocês antes de vir para o Brasil foi muito diferente da realidade que vocês encontraram aqui?
Not really. My expectations was that basically everyone would go fucking crazy, and we came here and everyone went fucking crazy. And that's it basically. So in terms of my expectations, everything's fucking cool. And it's hot.
Aí galera, vamos chamar agora um intervalinho aqui no programa. Logo no próximo bloco a gente continua com mais um pouco da entrevista do Spat para vocês.
Um dos maiores festivais de rock do Brasil está de volta. Dia 14 de abril vai rolar o Live and Louder, festival que vai reunir 6 lendas do hard and heavy mundial: Twisted Sister, Sodom, Metal Church, Loudness, Molly Hatchet, e os brasileiros do Angra com participação do vocalista Fábio Lione. O festival marca os 25 anos da produtora Top Link e a Curitiba Underground é a excursão oficial do Paraná para este evento. Acesse nosso site e faça já a sua reserva.
Curitiba Underground, 7 anos de apoio ao rock and roll.
Bom, galera, vamos voltando agora com o programa Extra Curitiba Underground, apresentando hoje a banda punk escocesa Spat. Pessoal, queria saber se vocês já tinham contato com a cena brasileira antes de vir para cá, o que trouxe vocês para cá, né?
A couple of years ago, we played with a band from Sao Paulo called CADELA, and we thought people would know who they are over here, but nobody seems to know who they are. They're good, and they're more like heavy, but we're quite isolated from Brazilian music, I guess, partly because it's harder for you guys to get across to Europe and to show us like live, because a lot of the bands that we see are local bands, or smaller bands that tour, so more bands from the UK and from Europe, but we'll take the bands that we've met and the bands we've seen, we'll take their music back across with us, and then we'll try and introduce people in the UK to more Brazilian bands.
Yes. Os shows onde vocês costumam tocar na Europa costumam ser com bandas variadas de outros estilos ou são mais que bandas do estilo próximo de vocês?
I guess in the UK it can be quite mixed up because there's lots of different genres of music, and because we're quite united, as we've said, it's more common for bands to be put together in a kind of a mixture of a show, whereas when we played in Europe it tends to be more of the same genre will play together. I don't know, I guess if they were bigger countries, there were more different people to choose from, whereas Scotland's quite small, so we sometimes have no choice but to mix bands up. I think it's a very good thing because it brings people together, and you get to see different types of music and start to like different and become more eclectic in your taste.
Bom, desde os anos 80 que muitas bandas europeias são muito influenciadas pelo ska, né? E eu queria saber se vocês também têm essa influência no som de vocês.
There's not many ska bands that we listen to a lot, so there's good ska bands in the UK though. In Scotland there's one called Bomb Scare, and it's always good fun to go and see them, but I think we come from different angles when we're playing. But for me, playing bass it's good because it's a bit more interesting. You know, if you get bored playing punk sometimes, you can play ska and it's a lot more fun, challenging.
O que ainda existe, ou o que ainda se mantém da ideologia punk hoje em dia para vocês?
I think in say like the late 70s or the early 80s, then obviously we weren't around, so it's hard to say that we were part of that, or but I think some things have changed since then, and like punk has definitely changed my mindset in a lot of things when it comes to politics or diet, and so I think it changes a lot as generations go by, but there still are some things that are the same.
Aí galera, vamos chamar mais um intervalo aqui para vocês, daqui a pouco a gente volta com o Spat.
Uma das maiores bandas de gothic rock de todos os tempos está de volta. A Curitiba Underground leva você para o show do The Cure, que vai se apresentar dia 6 de abril na Arena Anhembi, em São Paulo. Temos pacotes com ou sem ingressos. Você não pode ficar fora dessa.
Curitiba Underground, 7 anos de apoio ao rock and roll.
Vamos voltando aí com a edição especial do programa Curitiba Underground, apresentando hoje a banda escocesa punk Spat. Bom, para encerrar agora o programa, eu queria saber se vocês têm alguma mensagem, alguma coisa que vocês gostariam de dizer aqui para o pessoal que está assistindo o programa ou para o pessoal que curte o som de vocês.
Don't let society divide you into different groups. Stay united, stay punk, stay true.
Bom, pessoal, está chegando ao fim aqui essa edição extra do programa Curitiba Underground. Espero que vocês tenham curtido e até a próxima.
Wake up late night, wake up sick. Brain dead, that's been like piss. always ever as I could, and I wonder it was back at night.